Hey, this is Cautious Clay, and you're watching First Look.
Cautious Clay has been building a really impressive following. Your Blue Note debut, Carpe, is a deeply brilliant work that not only finds Cautious Clay collaborating with some of the leading lights of the Blue Note roster, like Joel Ross and Emmanuel Wilkins, Julian Lage, and our distinguished alumnus Ambrose Akamusiri, but also taken his narrative storytelling to a whole different level. Cautious's real name is Joshua Karpeh. That's in the album title, Carpe. And Josh, thanks for being here today, man.
Man, Don, thank you for having me.
Before we talk about the level of musicianship on this record, I would like to get into the narrative themes that connect all the songs. It covers your family's history and understanding your present consciousness and how it impacts the future. I hope that's a fair encapsulation. But tell us about the story you're telling through these songs.
Yeah, that's a really good synopsis you kind of gave in some context. I wanted to be able to apply it to experiences that I think we all have in the context of like how our past and present affect our future, which is very obvious. And for me, there's just so many stories that I think get lost, experiences that get lost, and then no one can be able to tell them. And I just wanted to be able to sort of like be the vessel, the music to be the vessel through which I can explain just the relationship between my grandparents and how that affected my parents, and then obviously how that affected me.
Your playing is awesome on this record. You play some brilliant flute, tenor saxophone, soprano sax, bass clarinet. Plus, you're playing guitar and synth and bass on some songs. And I think that some of your fans are going to be surprised to learn of the importance of jazz in your upbringing. I think the musicianship is really evidenced in tracks like Yesterday's Price, which features guest performances from Emmanuel and Ambrose. Tell us a little bit about that track.
I've been a flute and saxophone player since I was about 7. Well, 7 was when I started flute. Saxophone was like 15 or 16. And I've always just like had a very strong affinity towards like solos and different ideas, but I'm also very, very, very particular about how I like solos to be crafted, or just like identities that people have. And I think for me, it's not like, oh, how many notes you can play or whatever. I think there has to be a story, there has to be a speech. And so throughout the song, you hear, I think conceptually I was thinking like saying speech, and so it's kind of quiet, but you can hear it throughout. I always love to find a center melody and sort of make motifs off of that melody. And Ambrose has a much more expansive melodic experience that I find to be so brilliant. And I sort of added flutes over his solo that sort of were sort of like Gil Evans-esque in sort of how I wanted to approach the body of what his solo was giving, because I heard so much out of it. And I wanted to be able to add to it. With Emmanuel, I feel like he is such a fiery, hot player, man. So it's just like a different approach. And so I kind of gave him the space that he needed to be able to just sort of like go in his world. And so I think the three of us just have different approaches to the same types of instruments. You know, we're not obviously speaking, but I wanted to be able to demonstrate how different players really are.
All right, let's play a little bit of that. Cautious Clay from his new album Karpeh, a song called Yesterday's Price. As you know, I was deeply moved by the demo you sent us for the song Unfinished House, and what you subsequently did with Julian on that track takes it to yet another level. Such an incredible story behind that song. Let's talk about it.
I essentially wanted to write a song about my grandparents' relationship. As I sort of mentioned earlier, they had a lot of complexity and beauty in the relationship. And my grandfather was an aerospace engineer in Seattle in the 40s. And because of redlining, they had to build a house 40 minutes south of downtown Seattle. And in that process, they couldn't really finish the house, but they obviously had 7 kids, including my dad and my aunts and uncles. There was so much history in this particular property, like in terms of just like people who were living there, the fact that they built it, but it wasn't finished. And then also the fact that, they divorced my grandparents, and they had so much, love, but then also so much trauma. And so I wanted to be able to encapsulate that story in a 3-minute song, which I hope y'all enjoy. No, if I was born when you were born, you and I wouldn't get...
That's Cautious Clay, a song called Unfinished House from his new album, Carpe. Well, I know you come from Cleveland, and the first single from the album was your song, Ohio. Really powerful song. Tell us a bit about that one.
Yeah, so that one, essentially, I obviously grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, but I spent my summers in Seattle. And so it's essentially just a song about sort of going between the two, but spending most of my time in Ohio, and sort of just like, I have a very love-hate relationship with it, in the context that, like, obviously growing up there, I met some good people and some friends, but I think I didn't enjoy a lot of my time there. It was a very difficult time for me, but I also took away so much from that experience, and I think I'm happy it made me the person that I am. I just wanted to be able to, like, through the album, be able to tell that story, and that's why it's at the beginning. That's why it's...
Let's play it.
Chasing a closed loop, hoping through the faithful mind. Throwing me out of my element. Oh baby, I'll be a star.
That's Cautious Clay from his new album, Carpe, a track called Ohio. Josh, man, the album is a beautiful work of art. It's one of those records that not only bears the scrutiny of repeated listenings, but it offers something new every time I play it. I hear something different, something that I didn't notice before. Well done, man, and welcome to Blue Note Records.
Thank you, Don. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks for being here today, and thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time on First Look.